All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am bringing you my 13 weeks out update to the Road to Excalibur. Cole is not with me today, as you guys would well imagine. We were unable to film this week, so I am bringing it to you check-in style via Loom. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just kind of run through some of my photos, wait, look at how things are looking, decision making, go through some of the photos, comparisons, things like that, just to kind of run things down for you guys so you guys enjoy this and get to kind of see where my head's at with things. So last week, 14 weeks out, I did a post up on Instagram instead of via YouTube, and I was talking about how I reduced my cardio. When you're in prep, the idea is you're supposed to make like a specific change and then have a projection of the rate at which you're supposed to be losing body fat, essentially. And so the goal is to just, be on a really steady pace with things. That being said, normally there's never a point that you decrease your cardio unless you're going to be doing like a deload. Under most circumstances, at least, you would kind of like slowly taper it up instead of, having a point in time where you bring it down. The reason being, for the first 8 weeks of prep, I was giving myself a bonus 1,000 calorie allotment per week that I could adjust accordingly. Kind of, if I'm having like a really long day, if I have like meals that are heavily spaced apart, I would be able to add, a couple extra 100 calories to a meal in order to increase the volume, things like that, kind of get my body back into used to dieting slightly, but then nothing super abrupt. Big thing is I only have so much robot mode in me that I've been able to pull out in the past. And so this was kind of like my way to try to give myself a slight allotment to ease my way back into being like super 100% on plan. And as of 14 weeks out, so last weekend, 100% on plan. Like, I have 4 meals. I eat the exact same 4 meals. There's nothing that changes for any of them, which, by the way, is how prep is supposed to be, just so you guys are all aware. But I am actually following through with those things now, and because of that, I took out that calorie allotment. I also took out the energy expenditure that I added onto it for that. So cardio's reduced a bit. So yeah, we have the cardio minutes were reduced, but we have the incline here at 10%, speed at 3.3, steps, 10,000 minimum. Like, there are some days where I get 13 to 15,000 steps. Like, it just, sometimes those days happen. I try not to make them consistent, but sometimes you just have a busy ass day. Cool things though, so we are looking at the weight. I started at about 209. Obviously a lot of inflammation and water weight. I had a couple of cheat meals that weekend, and so, all the way down. I've got a new low this morning at 185.4. Well, I had the same weight as yesterday, but yeah, it's still a new low, so it's really, really good. That means that the removal of the cardio, as well as that extra 1,000 calories, didn't set me back at all. Part of this also, so like you'll notice that there's a bit of like a halter here. I ended up having a cheat meal around this time frame, which is why this is marked in red. I had a big cheat meal around here, and it actually took the entire week to get back to my pre-cheat meal body weight, which is very strange, super, super odd. Really, really excessive, actually. Normally, it's like 2 or 3 day thing for me. This time it was pretty intense. That all aside, we've got all of my outline for the different drugs and stuff. We do have options in here for later. No guarantee that I'm going to be using Trenbolone or Anavar, but both of them are in my arsenal in order to. There's still no fat loss agents being added, but I do have clenbuterol, T3, and yohimbine for when times are necessary. I don't take an AI yet, but there might be a point near the end of prep where I put in a little bit just to reduce some of my estrogen. I do have a naturally really high estrogen, so it's kind of a problem, but that's okay. I have my changes to the training all worked out as well. So, the different workout plan here that we've implemented 19 weeks out. I made some slight volume reduction this week just to try to save my elbows a little bit more. So in my tracking sheet, over the last few months, I've actually heavily focused on tracking my blood pressure, at least more so than many other aspects. I had some Deca Nandrolone in my stack, to which I used earlier in the year last year, and everything was fine, but this time around, it seems like my blood pressure skyrocketed, so pulled that out. Once that was completely out of my system, my blood pressure's gone right back down to normal, which is awesome. So really happy about that. Good averages. On here I'm tracking my cardio that I do each day, only in the minutes. I know exactly the intensity and everything else, so that's fine. My steps are here. On the days where they're rounded up, it's because I did cardio on those days. And I don't always have my phone on me when I'm doing cardio. A lot of the times I'm watching videos and things like that, so it doesn't really count my steps. And so every 10 minutes that I'm walking, I'm roughly getting 1,100 steps. So I just do a little bit of math and crank it out around there. So, but yeah, as you guys can see, like weight just slowly came down all week. Yeah, things are like really good at that. So let's get to the fun part here. Now, in here we've got my photos. We're gonna go through the different comparisons. You guys are actually gonna see some of the difference that like proper posing makes. Just me versus me. Like I'm, I am not a morning person. I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. So trying to flex and pose first thing in the morning is not necessarily ideal. But anyways, this is how we do it. We try to get the dry weight. So first thing in the morning, you wake up, you go pee, you don't drink anything, you don't eat anything, you get your photos done. I haven't done much stretching yet at this point. I tried to do some stretching before. I normally do posing later in the day. And it's something that I will be implementing in the mornings closer to the competition day. But at this time, still not there. Anyways, let's take a look at some of these photos. So all the photos that are on the left are of this week, 13 weeks out. All the photos on the right are of last week's photos, 14 weeks out. Very slight changes here. We're a little bit more in the ab lines. I'm gonna take a look. So what we're looking for here, guys, is we're just looking to see if there's any more hardness that you're able to see. Remember, I have really bright LED lights shining directly on me. The idea is to give the worst lighting possible so that you could try to, basically you want to look as lean as you can in the worst lighting possible, because if you can do that, then you're going to look phenomenal in the best lighting as well. So one of the big things that we look for, especially in like the side shots, I look for some of the graininess in the side of my quads, like the hamstring separation, and my obliques a lot of the times, front delts. This is like where you can start to kind of see it in this comparison a little bit more an oblique in the abs, not much. My front slowed down a lot when it comes to leaning out because I hold more of my body fat on my rear side, and you can see a very clear progression this week when it comes to leanness. Now it is strange, I did notice that I am much more tanned and dark on this side. I'm not really sure what the fuck went on with that. It might have just been a weird way that my phone captured the photo last week with the clicker. Anyways, you can see very much so, like I am much leaner up and through in the back. It's over down here in the glutes a little bit as well. Some in the hamstrings. Again, love my fucking face first thing in the morning. Again, it's hard to pose, guys. It's difficult. Don't make fun of me. So I like looking at the quads. When I come into a lot of my shots, it's the quads. Don't mind my green thing, my toenails, guys. Normally I wear my socks. I like watching for the deep cuts inside my quads. Right here you still can't really see my sartorius, but later on in the day it's much easier to be seen. That's the little muscle that's going to kind of run through right here, that kind of separates the front right here. Ends the teardrop, like there's some points over here where it looks a little bit more vascular than over here, but it could just be from the lighting. Overall though, like posing and things are looking good. My rear shots are the hardest shots always to try to line up. I don't have a proper posing setup. I've never actually had a room where I have like the mirror up front that I can look in to watch myself pose. So everything that I've ever had to do for any of my own adjustments is take pictures and adjust based off of feel. And I'm going to be honest, that shit's hard as hell. I'm getting better with it for sure, but difficult. And as you can see, it's not very consistent. Even just with the posing alone, like my left arm over here, it would be my left arm, it needs to be pulled in more. But like biceps and shoulder peaks are pretty close to even. Could get a little bit more external rotation of my shoulder here would probably bring that bicep peak up a little bit more, to be honest. All right, so this is a really good example of where posing makes a really big difference to how you're gonna look on stage, guys. Like last week's side tricep, in my opinion, looks way better than this week's side tricep. Like I'm sitting more over top of my pelvis. My center of balance is much better. My leg look, like everything else is there. My feet are pretty close to the same position. Like, yeah, a little bit closer here, but that's not gonna make that much of a difference. My back leg here is pushing in to my front leg on this side far better than it is here. I'm standing a little bit more upright, shows a little bit more length as well. And you can see I'm probably flexing my glutes a little bit better here than I am here. This is a huge difference in posing. Upside, like I look way bigger up here with a smaller waist. Like I could sit here and pick myself apart for hours, but ultimately this is the difference when it comes to posing as well. So first thing in the morning, I'm fucking awful at posing. I'm gonna be honest, it needs to get better, but it only gets better in time. So last one here too. I think this is one of the last shots that I have for a comparison. And this is where you can really see it in my legs, the difference. So as I was mentioning before, that sartorius, this muscle right here, much more visible this week than last week. Adductors coming in a little bit better as well. It's a lot of shading for sure, but at the same time, like you could tell that there's definitely a progression from last week, which is really good. We come back over to here. Okay, so let's take a look. So the supplements that I'm taking right now, I don't take a shitload of supplements, just so you guys are aware. Like I try to take the bare minimum, whatever's needed, and this is for the most part how my list looks at this moment. 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, you omega-3 fish oils, I take ubiquinol for heart health, multivitamin to make up any of the things that I might miss. Down here we have GABA added in the evening as well, with magnesium and zinc for a little bit of sleep benefits. 7 grams of creatine before my workouts. I still like to take beta-alanine, even though it has recently been shown that beta-alanine isn't very beneficial for any exercise bouts that are going to be under like a minute. I still actually like taking it anyways. I'm going to be honest, a little bit of a tingle, and sometimes placebo is one of the best kind of drugs that is out there, and I feel like it helps, and so therefore it's a really, really inexpensive supplement. I take it anyways. With that being said, I add 6 grams of citrulline malate and then 2 grams of salt, which a lot of people feel is excessive. It just kind of really helps get like really good pumps. I keep this consistent though. This is year round, like 2 grams of salt before a workout. So it's not like, increase and lower and anything. My body's used to this. Don't go crazy with the salt if you guys' body isn't used to it. You should be adding salt, but don't go crazy on it. So when it comes to decision making, amongst all of these, I do have a general outline. One of the big things to do is, as you track your data over the years, the better you can keep track of it, and the longer you hold on to it, the more beneficial, because then you can really see how your body goes over the years. So I created a timeline from my previous prep that I had done for my last competition, and it's pretty just rough thrown together. I had to pull some things just from like emails and stuff, but I was doing only 20 to 35 minutes, like 20 minutes of cardio 21 weeks out and 35 minutes of cardio 10 weeks out. Up around this point is where we actually got incline treadmills, and that was where everything changed for me. My legs were way better after that. I had so much quad fatigue running into this that we ended up doing a few different deloads. I started some healing peptides to try to reduce inflammation and stuff, help with my elbows. There was a lot of different things, and you could see from 10 to 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, right there, the progression. The different performance enhancing drugs and fat burners are all here as well. So, we ended up putting in the T3 at 11 weeks out. The next week we added Clen. Later on we added Yohimbine, went up slightly. Having everything in here laid out like this helps me now, because then I can kind of see, I'm like, okay, so around here is where we estimated this. So around 11 weeks out, I'm going to be going to get blood work done to see where my thyroid hormone is sitting at, to be able to make sure I'm making the right call. I don't need to add T3 in if my thyroid is still doing fine, but if it is starting to tank, I should go with it. One thing to note though is when we did this increase from 11 to 10 weeks out, right here, we dropped 9 pounds. Well, sorry, we dropped nearly 8 pounds in a matter of 2 weeks. And that was when we added all that in. So that was when we started the T3. Then we had the Clennon. So, you know, it's a pretty big drop. I'm not necessarily expecting anything like that to be that crazy this year, but it's there just in case. When it comes to my macros, I don't actually have any of this information. Unfortunately, I had to pick and I had to pick and find what I could from emails that I've saved over the prep. So I know that these are where my meal plans changed. These are where my calorie amounts were. The goal this time around is to try to avoid having to get too low as well. I remember I was having some days down to about 1,500 calories in the last little bit for rest days, and honestly, like, getting down to that low in calories was really difficult for me. So it's kind of one of those things. Right, so when it comes to food, I am only eating 4 meals right now because I'm finding that that's what's working best for my satiety and adherence as well. So my drop is down to, you know, roughly 23, 24. That's really it, I do believe. So guys, thank you for tuning in to the channel this week, guys. You know, a little bit different, ran through all of my own check-in with everything, went through my photos, showed you guys my meals, showed you all of that. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week.